What's happened here now?
In this video, I'm going to show you a step-by-step guide of how you can repair this kind of damage on your car at home without a spray booth, no spray guns, no fancy equipment, pure DIY value. Let's get into it.
So the first thing I'm going to use is a piece of wood. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to get some sandpaper. This is 120 grit, and we're going to wrap it around the wood. What we need to do now is level this off. Get rid of these jagged edges, smooth it down so it's nice and flush. So we're going to follow that up with some 180. That's the 180 all done, and that's all the damage should be removed at this point. What we're doing now is we're refining it with lighter grades, less coarse sandpaper, and we're looking to smooth out all the scratches we've created with the sandpaper and also feather out these edges. So we're going to go with 320 next. Again, wrap it around your block. Okay then, so what you should start to notice is these edges are starting to feather out. So you can see obviously the plastic, and then we've got grey primer, and then we've probably got the base coat which is white, and then we're sanding through the lacquer coat. So you can see it's actually layered up. That's what you're after, that's the feathering out process, what we need. So let's make sure, I mean you can take it off the block if you need to, but we're definitely nicely feathering out these edges, and we're also going over everywhere to remove any of the marks we've left with the more coarse sandpaper. So the final grade I'm going to use in the sanding process is some 400 grit. With each time, with each different coarse grit, we're just looking to take it a little bit further away each time. So the repair should be getting larger. So just take that into account when you are starting a repair. The damage might just be there, but by the time you've sanded it all down and you've got it how we want it, then the repair might start looking quite big. Right then guys, this bit is very important, so make sure you listen up. Obviously this is now the damage area where we've sanded it out, so it's a lot larger area than it was when we started. So the next phase of the repair is we're going to have to primer this so that the paint applications that follow it will adhere to it and obviously leave hopefully a good finish. So you can't just directly spray paint onto plastic, so we're going to have to use a primer. So I'm just going to draw with this pen roughly where we're going to prime it to, just to give you an idea of how the spray application stages are going to pan out. After the primer, we're going to be colouring it. Obviously it's white. We're going to be spraying white base coat. So I'll just show you roughly where I'm aiming the white base coat to sort of go to and travel to. So finally we're going to have the clear coat application, which is the top coat lacquer, which makes it shiny, durable. It can obviously stand up to weather and washing, and without it you can't do the repair. Basically you're going to have to put some kind of lacquer, clear coat, top coat. So the clear coat is going to come all across here. Obviously it's going up to that adjoining quarter panel, and then we're going to take it down this edge and obviously all underneath, and it's also going to go all under here and then down this side. The next stage in the process is to key this full area up so that the paint applications, the primer, the base coat and the clear coat can all stick and adhere to it properly. If we just leave this shiny surface, then nothing that follows this stage will stick, and even if it does, as mentioned before, it won't last long. For this stage I recommend using some grey Scotch pad, Scotch Brite pad, or if you've not got access to some grey Scotch, 1000 paper, wet and dry. This stage is often referred to in many different painting trades as keying up the surface. So I've just got a bucket of water, you can put some soap in there if you like, and we're going to rub all of this down, leaving no shiny bits whatsoever. One thing that we need to be cautious of, we've got to get either the sandpaper or the Scotch into all these little gaps. So often I see repairs failing because the repairer hasn't took the time to get some Scotch in there or their sandpaper, and often it starts lifting on these edges where it adjoins the panel because it's still shiny in them areas and the paint's obviously stuck to the majority of it, but in these corners where people have just been a little bit lazy, the same within here, they've just not took the time to key it up properly, and they've ended up painting onto a shiny glossy area, and it's failed over time. So why do I recommend grey Scotch, and why do I recommend to you guys 1000 grit paper and not maybe a lesser grit which is a more coarse paper? Because I know that the clear coat lacquer, the base coat and the primer are all going to cover the marks and scratches that this leaves when we're trying to key up the area. That's the important part to the keying up process. Bearing in mind we've drawn out where the layers are going to go, the primer is going to go to there, the base coat's going to go to there, the clear coat's going to go to there, or the lacquer that you're using. So we need the whole area in a position where we can cover it without leaving any scratches showing through. And I know that the grey Scotch will be fully covered by all those applications, and so will the 1000 paper. Any more coarse grit that they might be tempted to use, you are risking the final top coat not covering it. So you might end up seeing some scratches come through the final finish. Now we could bring the repair into here, but unfortunately with this van some of the bumper corner goes underneath the back door, which would mean we'd have to spray the door open. So we can do that, but I'm going to show you a little technique called back masking on this bit here, just to give you some idea of maybe a creative way to end your repair somewhere if you have to, on what's referred to as a swage line, yeah, where the body panel curves or joins. We refer to it as a swage line, and we can use these to end the repair, hopefully seamlessly. As mentioned, we've got an area in here that is kind of covered up by the door. Now we need to make sure that we're still keying up these areas where the overspray will blow into, otherwise they will start to flake over time if they're not keyed up properly. So always make extra effort to key up everywhere that your paint application is going to go into. Very important. Now we're entering the paint application stages. It's really important that we start to keep the area clean. So I've got some panel wipe or degreaser, depending on where you are, what you call it. This one's from Paint Gear. And we're just going to give the panel a good wipe down everywhere we've been. Just cleans any contaminants, fingerprints, grease, anything like that off it, which may cause a reaction down the line, what we don't want. Now that the area is clean, it's time to use some masking tape, and we're just going to go around this area in the dotted line section with the masking tape. A little tip for you: if you just get the masking tape and then with your fingers just roll it back in half, stick it to your area. What that's now done, that's created a nice soft edge for the spray application to feather into, rather than a really harsh line like that. We need to now mask the area because the primer that we're going to apply is going to spray sort of outwards. It's not just going to stay there, so we need to protect the surrounding areas, else we're going to get primer on them, create more work, potentially damage areas that were otherwise absolutely fine. I like to, at this stage, use some Ultra Grip. This one's from Pro Excel. This is an adhesion promoter, so as it says, this promotes adhesion to the surface, so the plastic underneath the primer, it promotes the adhesion between them two layers. If you haven't got any, don't worry about it, you can skip this stage. I like to use it. If you've got it, use it. If you haven't, let's move on to the next stage. Primer, again, whatever you've got, you use it. Whatever you've got access to, or if you like a particular brand, you use it. I'm using Pro Excel Ultra Grip in grey, so that's the one I've got. I like this one. I've used many, there's many decent ones, but I'm using this one today. So this is a really important stage. You can't paint that without some kind of primer on it. At this stage, I like to just try and aid the drying process a little bit with a hairdryer or a heat gun. Now, I'm not going really close to literally burn it on or anything like that. I'm just going to get a bit of heat going across the panel just to make it flash off a bit quicker. In winter months, or if you're in a cold climate, that's quite important because it allows the solvents to evaporate quicker and they won't bite into the surrounding areas as much. So it's not too bad today because it's a nice warm day, but it's just a little tip for you. Just blow some warm air across it, help it flash off. Not too close, not like that, just keep it sort of there so it's a nice warm air blowing into it. We're going to go in now with a second coat of the primer. This coat can be a bit more of a fuller coat, a bit wetter than the first one. So when you're doing any kind of spray application, I advise wearing a mask. Only reason I'm not wearing a mask is because I'm trying to talk to describe what I'm doing to you guys. So after you've primed it, it should look something like this. All the damage area should be covered, and we're about to take the masking tape off now because we need to feather out the edges where we've sprayed up to. For the smoothing out of the primer stage, I'm going to use 800. This one's a dry foam back 800. This one is a wet and dry. Obviously this one needs water. So what we're looking to do, we're just going to start flattening all this out so it's nice and smooth. So one thing that's important is we need to make these edges nice and smooth and feathered out. It's really important that we do that and we do it well, because if this isn't feathered out properly, you're going to see it through the repair. So like we did with the first sanding stages, this has got to be really feathered out with the existing finish underneath. So I've just swapped over to some wet and dry 800 just to show you works exactly the same. And if I just rub that section down, that's sort of what we're after. We're at the stage now where we're going to mask off the vehicle. So we're going to mask this whole area off so we can spray this with the base coat and all this with the clear coat. For this next stage, we're going to mask all this area off with some kind of sheeting, or if you've got newspaper. We're going to mask quite a big area up because we don't want the overspray going on the different panels that are surrounding it. So that's brought us round to this bit here, which I explained earlier that I was going to discuss what we can do in this situation where we want the repair to end, but there's not actually an end of a panel. So we want it to finish on this edge, but we don't want to have a sharp line. Okay, so what you can do is you can roll this paper in half again, which makes a rounded soft edge. So we're going to apply it pretty near the last area where the primer's gone. This is going to have 3 coats of white base coat and then 2 coats of clear coat. Then each time we see one of the coats go on, we're just going to roll it back just 1mm each time. We're ready for painting, so we're going to give it a final panel wipe. After the final panel wipe degreasing stage, we are now at the paint application stage. Obviously this van is white, it's Peugeot EPR Icy White. So I've had this mixed up by Paint Gear, but you can get your paint wherever you want to get it from, wherever you get your aerosols from, that's entirely up to you. It's colour matched to the car. I provided the code which was in the door shut, so that was dead easy. And yeah, we are going to now crack on with getting some colour coat on. As with any paint application, the first coat is a light coat. Make sure you give the can a really good shake. As I mentioned before, each coat we're just going to creep that back the slightest bit so we don't get a hard edge. That's enough. On to the second coat. And again, we're just going to creep that back just so you can see about 1mm of fresh masking tape. And we'll do that on the third coat as well. What we're trying to do there is stop the hard edge build up so it's not a straight line. We're just creeping it and rolling it back each time. I'm leaving about 10 minutes apart, and now we're on the third and final coat of base coat. So what we're going to do, we've been flicking it in anyway, but we're just going to flick it, blend it a bit further down into the rest of the panel, just so it doesn't look like a really hard edge here where it's just new paint and older paint, just in case there's any slight colour batch issues, which there can be. That's absolutely normal for spraying. We're now ready for the top coat, the lacquer, clear coat, whatever you call it in your country. I'm using Pro XL 2K clear. It's a proper 2K clear coat, so it's got the activator and the lacquer in one can. You pull the pin out, twist it, and it mixes it together, and then you've got a set amount of time to apply it, and it dries rock hard, and it's the same kind of stuff that a professional sprayer would use, except it's in a can. For this project, I'm actually going to be using the bigger can, but one of these smaller cans would be more than enough to do this bumper corner. I've got a couple of other projects I want to be spraying today, so I may as well use the bigger can. As I always say, you use your own products, get them for wherever you want. I'm just saying what I'm using on this one. Always wear a mask, especially when you're spraying top coats. This first coat is just going to be a light coat. We're just putting a layer on so it's nice and tacky, ready for the second coat. A good indicator that you're ready for the next coat is if you just touch the masking tape around it. If it's nice and sticky, nice and tacky, then it's perhaps ready for a second coat. This second coat is going to be a full coat, so we want it nice and wet, nice and glossy, and hopefully we can get a really nice finish now. So now we've done the full coat, the last coat, we're just going to peel this right away from the edge. So guys, this is where we're at and what we're left with. I'm pretty impressed with it so far. It's not quite finished, but as you can see, the primer's been covered. We're now left with a nice white glossy finish. So we are back the next day, and here is the finished job from yesterday, and I've left it 24 hours, so everything should be fully cured. Shouldn't be tacky or anything like that, or soft to the touch. It's ready for, if it needs it, some kind of flattening and polishing work. To be honest, I'm happy with this. I probably would have left it as it is if this was my own job, but seeing as I'm trying to help you guys do the complete job, something might have happened in the final stage. You may have got some bits of shrapnel, dirt, something maybe have stuck to it, or maybe, I don't know, the finish is a little bit dry, or maybe you've got a bit of a sag or some kind of paint defect within the finished article that you're not happy with. Don't worry, it's not the end of the world. So I've just got a bucket with a little bit of water in. I've put a tiny bit of soap in there just for a bit of lubrication, and I've got my sandpapers in here. I've got 1500 and 2000, and they're the sandpapers that we're going to use on this finish here. So if I really zoom in on the job and I'm being really picky, there is actually a couple of little bits what have landed in the lacquer, the top coat, that, yeah, you know what, you probably wouldn't have noticed it otherwise, and it's on white and it's a little black bit of fibre or something, a bit of thread that's landed in it. So this is the kind of thing that we're going to try and remove with the sandpaper. So I'm just going to get a little bit of 1500, and this is just going to be like a localised flattening down that we need to address. Now, it might not always be possible to fully remove the defect in the paint, but we can definitely try and improve it, and we can knock it down, make it flat with the surface, and hopefully make it a little less visible. So I'm just following that 1500 up with a bit of 2000, going over exactly the same area, just because the 2000 would be much easier to buff when we do the next stage. It's pretty much removed most of it. I know you can still see it, but we're really zoomed in on the camera. So it doesn't really need it here, but I'm just going to flat this area here because it's just more of a demonstration if you're not quite happy with your finish. Wet and dry paper, nice and wet, a little bit of soap. We're just going to dry that off, followed by 2000. So the next stage is we're going to polish the paintwork back up with a machine and a cutting pad. These are from Paint Gear. You can get yours wherever you want. I've put some links in the description to some of the things we've used today. This is a 5-inch one, this is a 3-inch one. I'm just going to show you now a couple of tools, what you can use with these Velcro back pads to get the polishing process underway. In combination with the cutting pads, we're going to use a cutting compound. There's 2 different types here. I put links into them both depending on where you can get them from. This one's easy accessible on a lot of different stores. I'm going to use this one. This one's from Paint Gear today. So let's get the next stage underway. So we've attached the 3-inch pad to a drill, if that's all you've got. It's going to take a bit longer than a buffer machine, but I'll just show you it can be done. So that's that bit sorted. That's nicely polished back up. So we've flattened it, which has dulled it off, and then we've polished it back up. And if you've done that properly, it will stay like that. If you use the proper compounds and a cutting pad, it will stay nice and shiny like that. Now I'm going to demonstrate exactly the same process, but with rotary polisher. This is just a cheap one. Again, I'll put links in the description. You don't have to spend a lot of money on this, especially if you're just going to be doing it a few times for your own use and you're not doing it for work purposes. But these are actually really good. I've had one of these over a year and they last, and they're just dead useful to have, really. I'm going to apply a bit of the Menzerner heavy cut compound. We use the freckler on that bit just to demonstrate both products, just as good. Always try and get one with variable speed. As you can see, that's now nice and shiny, defect free, just how we want it, and that is literally the finished article to the project. So we'll just have a quick look of what she looked like before. And this is it, all finished. Damaged, sanded, adhesion promoter, primer, base coat paint, 3 layers of that, 2 layers of top coat. In our case, with what we used, it was 2K lacquer, and you'd never know that was damaged. I've also polished inside this edge. It's not perfect, we was a bit close with the base coat, but you get the idea. We had to end it somewhere. Here's a demonstration of that. So there's that. Nice finish. Nice reflections. I could have flattered all of this orange peel out, but if I can, I do like to leave a little bit, because the Bodywork's pretty much the same orange peel wise. So if we'd sanded the whole lot, then we can remove all that if you want to, but I've tried to keep this as factory as possible. And there we have it, guys. That concludes today's video. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it showed you that you can get a great finish using basic stuff. You know, we've used very little equipment. I've got no compressor, no spray guns, no spray booth. We're pretty much outside here. I'm just in a doorway, so it's something you can do on your driveway or at home. And look at the finish you can get. You know, with a bit of time and effort and watching videos like this, you can replicate this kind of repair. So I'm going to be doing loads more content on spraying and this kind of thing, bodywork, repair, plenty more to come. So if you like this one, hit subscribe, like the video, leave a comment. If you liked it, leave a comment. If you didn't like it, leave a comment. If you've done something differently, leave a comment. You know, it all helps the networking, people talking with each other, bickering about different ways of doing things. I don't mind. Just say what you want to say. If you like it, leave a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video. Appreciate all of you. Thank you for watching CVR POV.